Hi, it's Sayje.
And I'm DeShawn, and welcome to another episode of
Unbinding the Binary. A visual podcast where we love to get transparent about life, art, love, gender, and so much more.
So much more. And like today, we are back for another round of our Dating Diaries series.
Part 2 with my lovely friend, Mmell. Sib is back to sit down with us and talk a little bit about love language.
That's right. And I'm very excited to talk about this because love languages are a hot topic, and I don't think we talk about them enough. So I'm very excited about this one.
Absolutely. So, without further ado,
let's get into it. The Oracle Shop is a metaphysical boutique located in the heart of Bushwick, Brooklyn. This shop features beautiful and energizing products for the home, body, and soul, including crystals and minerals, as well as ceremonial and spiritual cleansing supplies, jewelry, oracle cards, tarot cards, books, candles, and more. Come visit us at the Oracle Shop, located at 164 Wilson, Brooklyn, New York, 11237. And we are back.
yes.
And very excited. This is another one of our dating series, as we talked about, Dating Diaries. And we have Mmell back. Yes.
Back in the building, back in the shop with some lovely treats for us. Thank you, Mmell, for making those.
Happy Valentine's Day, guys.
Thank you.
So sweet.
And so Mmell made these from scratch, and they're vegan, and I'm very happy about that. So we will be chowing down on these lovely treats very soon.
Yeah, they smell amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, they do.
How have you been?
I've been good. Really just working on balancing responsibilities and personal life.
Yeah. Relatable content.
That 222 energy, child.
Yes.
It's definitely here.
Yeah, I feel it for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good thing, right?
I think so. It's definitely like, I feel like even though the pace is starting to, kind of feels like catapulted, because I feel like there's been like a lot of direct energy, but it's kind of, there wasn't like much of a window between like the slow pace we had from the prior year coming into like this year, which just like catapulted forward.
You are speaking. Facts.
So I think it's given me a chance to really reflect on like how attentive I am to, organizing, planning, prioritizing, like, how to make time for self and how to make time for everything else I've committed myself to. So
100%.
I just want to thank you for the confirmation that you gave today, because that was a message direct and in alignment, right there with you.
Thank you for that, for sure.
I've been telling people lately that February, for me, almost feels like this is the start of the new year and not January, because January was just so like explosive and then everything kind of slowed down and then the end of it speeding back up. So I'm like, February is the new beginning and it's right before spring. So
and
here we are.
And the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year, is February 1st. So whatever energy you're tapping into, boom, it's right on target.
Beginning again.
Yeah, I feel like February definitely feels like the new year has arrived. I feel that energy for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, with new energy, let's go ahead and move our way into this new topic.
Yes.
So for today, as we discussed, we are talking about love languages. And so Sayje had us do a love language quiz, and you want to go ahead and talk about that because we are ready to talk about it.
So very briefly, I believe his name is Gary Chapman. He was a marriage counselor, and he believes that these 5 areas are the key to a romantic commitment. So that would be quality time, words of affection or affirmations. physical touch.
Yes.
And what else am I leaving out?
Gift giving.
And acts of service.
Acts of service.
Yeah. So
those are your 5.
so quality time.
Mm-hmm. Acts of service. Physical touch.
Gift giving. Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation. Boom.
Okay.
5. Yeah.
Great.
So we each took the test. Some of us were very shocked with our results.
By the way, we have not revealed our results yet, so this will be the first time we're hearing our results like with each other. So yeah.
So let's get into our results.
Who's going first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I don't mind going first. So my primary category was quality time, which right now definitely resonates a lot with me because I've been trying to do a lot of that. That's what I'm seeing. The secondary one was words of affirmation. I had that at 30%, followed by physical touch, receiving gifts, and 0% for acts of service. But here's the thing.
Because 0?
Yeah, 0%.
Shit.
Because I don't know. I guess at this stage in my life, like I don't really ask for much. You know, I don't really expect much material wise, which is interesting because astrologically, I have Venus in Capricorn. And the way that they describe that is like this
material girl.
I want Chanel 9 boots. Like, and I mean, she wants Chanel 9 boots, but she's gonna get it herself. And if you decide to gift me with it, I mean, thank you. I'm so appreciative, but I don't really demand, gifts. It's like whatever comes from the heart. So I'm actually I'm surprised that it's 0%. I think maybe it's a little rigged. But that's more so acts of service, not gift giving. So, but like I said, independent in terms of those small, like little tasks. Like I don't really expect like a man to come along and, do little things like that for me. It would be nice, but it's not top tier on the list.
Okay.
So quality time was at 37%, and then words of affirmation at 30%. Physical touch at 23%. I actually thought that was going to be my secondary. I thought the physical touch was going to be the secondary one.
Okay, interesting. What is that like for you to see that? What was the second one? Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation
coming before physical touch for you.
It makes sense, even though I may not like to admit it to myself. I just think that communication is super important, and I have to know how you feel, and so those words of appreciation or just saying I love you is just reassuring for me of where we're headed and where we are in a relationship, and the physical touch. I will admit that I'm a very sensual girl.
For those of you that don't know, Sayje is a Scorpio.
She's definitely a Scorpio, but I guess it doesn't hold precedence over the words of affirmation. I think in my head, it's kind of like hand in hand, like 50%.
Are they both at 30%?
No, so it's 5% under.
Okay, so
it could have been possible,
very close.
Yeah, because the way that the test sort of gauges you is against how meaningful, right? Is that what we realize? So could be roughly around the same percentage. But quality time for me, I feel like all of the other aspects can't really come into play if you're not having that deep one-on-one full attention and connection. So
I agree.
Yeah. Like physical touch is not going to come into play without that quality time.
Yeah, because you ain't touching me if you ain't spending time with me.
And those words of affirmation, you can get a little text here and there. You can talk to somebody over the phone, but there's nothing like looking into someone's eyes and hearing what they have to say and really not hearing but feeling it.
Yeah.
Right.
There's definitely something to say for tonality and like how things get delivered in person versus like through technology for sure. So I agree with you with like hearing words of affirmation in person.
It's all vibrational. So okay, what was your percentage? Because you seemed like you were shocked.
No, because I feel like in my opinion, the way I like to give love is not always synonymous with how I like to receive it. So because of that, I was like a little surprised. Words of affirmation are like, something I always offer other people. It's one of my core strengths. Like I love validating people's feelings, their existence, their lived experience. Like I feel like that's such a powerful tool, and like when used with active listening can really like impact people in a beautiful way. So I got quality time as my primary love language. And that came in at 30%. That was the highest one I got.
Okay.
So, everything else is like paling a bit in comparison, and the percentage wise, like quality time is definitely like the main way I love to receive and like give love. That's like my main love language. I did know that. Like I 100% know that. And then I got words of affirmation as my secondary love language, which is the one I was surprised about because I'm so like comfortable giving that way, but I don't think I've been communicating that I needed that too. I don't even think I realized that I needed that until taking this quiz. Yeah, and it's true because when I do hear, affirming things from other people, like I be blushing so hard. Like, oh my God, please don't look at me. Like, I really have this supernatural ability to turn into a tomato, like instantly. So I didn't realize that like I needed that. So I thought that was like interesting. And then I got physical touch, and words of affirmation and physical touch came in at the same percentage, which is like 20%. Yeah, I'm very affectionate. I love receiving affection, giving affection. Like, I don't need to be smothered, like, and I don't need to constantly have access to like PDA, but I also don't want to feel like I can't express myself to my partner in the moments where I feel like I really want to. Even in subtle ways, like holding hands or putting your leg over their lap, or like things like that to me. And then I got acts of service at 17%. Now hold up, because this really shocked the hell out of me. I was not expecting that. Acts of service at 17%. Check the records and the receipts. I don't know how that came in so low on the percentage meter. Because I live for acts of service. I will clean your dishes, walk your dog, like clean your fridge. Have you ever had somebody organize your fridge? It's a really beautiful thing to do for people, okay? Like, and so I'm really surprised that came so low on the percentage wise, but maybe that's because I don't need other people to do that for me.
That's what I was saying in terms of where it came for me. I don't think it's the quiz was gearing it towards how
definitely in how you receive.
How you receive or your expectation almost in a sense.
I definitely have a hyper independence, so I'm very much on the same agreement with you about like I really don't need people to do things like mundane, tedious activities. Like I really don't need people to do things like that for me. I got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the other things.
But the other way around.
If you notice me doing things like that for you, just recognize that's
it's real.
And then I got receiving gifts at 13%. And I think it's so funny because I really do like receiving small tokens of like appreciation or gratitude, or like small gifts are really nice, like sentimental gifts, like, you know what I mean? Like I like being written letters. I like when people write me letters, like if you make a piece of art for me, if you you know, if you memorize the way I like my coffee, oh my God.
Oh, yeah, something small. Sweet. Yeah, that's sweet.
That does something to me. That does something to me. I love things like that. Yeah, it is, because for me, like, there's, I'm very, like, I love the details. To me, like, there's so much to be said in the fabric and the details in the fabric, like, you know? So when people do small things like that, and they express that through gift giving, like, to me, that's so special. But it's apparently the lowest one on my list. So clearly I don't know myself.
It's okay. I think it depends on, again, in what aspect. And a lot of these questions were geared towards what you like to, I think, to receive, in a sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I learned something new about myself. Might have to definitely reconsider what I'm communicating to other people.
Your wants and your needs. DeShawn, you were a little surprised. Yes. You were jacking over there too.
I'm very surprised at my numbers. Very. Well, let's just get into it. So, my number one at 32% was quality time, which really shocked me.
Really?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because I am very much a person who, I'm adventurous. So, like, it's really hard to get me to, like, be in a spot and just sit and do nothing. Like, no, what are we doing? Where are we going? What are we about to do? And I have no problem going on adventures by myself. Like, it's not even a thought. Like, if I want to go do something, I'm immediately like, I'm going to go to the movies. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do that. It's great when I do have, you know, a partner or partners that will come with me. Like, yo, do you want to go on an adventure? And they're like, yay, I'm excited. Like, we all get to experience this together. But I don't have a problem doing it by myself. But what I do like, though, I do like when I'm able to be in a space with my person or persons, and we don't necessarily have to be doing the same thing or communicating, but we're just all in the same space. You know what I mean? So, like, if we're all in the same house and I'm in a room and I'm doing my thing, me knowing that they're in the other rooms or doing whatever is very comforting. You know what I'm saying? But I don't necessarily we don't all have to be, like, in the space, like, like, no, we good. Like, okay, I'll see you when I'm finished doing what I'm doing, but I love you and I'm so glad you're here. Like, I can just feel your essence, like, from afar.
I feel you on the adventurous part. Yeah. Because for me, it's like, I really, like, I could adventure alone, but I would also prefer to adventure with my significant other or whatever, because I feel like those adventures create memories. Right. That, you know, like, really create a stronger bond. So maybe you don't realize how excited you get when your partner or partners do tag along on something adventurous, and it creates a whole nother realm to the relationship.
I mean, I'm willing to say that as you were talking, I'm like, okay, I'm willing to say that I think probably some of that independent adventure comes from default, from, like, not people wanting to do stuff with me. So it was always like, I got to that place where it was like, either I'm going to not do this thing because I have to wait for someone, or I'm going to go enjoy myself and go do this thing. So I had to teach myself how. I remember, now that I think about it, I remember going to the movies by myself for the first time and being like, I'm here by myself, and then after a while I'll be like, yes, I'm going to, this is fun. Like, I go see whatever I want, when I want, how I want to. I love
self-dates.
Yeah. Oh, I love self-dates.
Awesome.
They're great. Yeah. Go to a museum by yourself, pop on some headphones, and just, it's, you know what I'm saying? But as you were talking, and what you were saying, I'm like, oh, you know, that might be some default. So maybe there's something there I just didn't know. But that was I'm not saying I didn't expect it to be in the top, but I didn't expect it to be number one at 32%. That's for damn sure.
What did you think was going to be number one?
I thought my number one was going to be touch. and we're going to get to that in a minute, because that's why I was like, what is going on? Okay, so number two is acts of service, and I will agree to that. I do like doing things for my partners in a very this is going to sound low-key kinky, and I don't mean it to, but I like it could be, but I do like to submit in a way for my partners. Like, let me, like, massage your feet, like, you had a long day. Let me, like, give you a bath. Like, I'm very much that girl. Like, yes, let me just, like, I just want to bathe you. Like, can I just bathe you? Like, rub you down. Like,
so sweet.
Yeah, so that makes 100% like sense to me. I'm very much, sometimes in the past, I would overextend myself, and I had to learn to dial it back. Because I would just be like, take whatever you want. It's all for you. And it's like, wait a minute, boo. Some of it should be for you too. So, number 3 was receiving gifts. I'm shocked that was number 3. Like, I actually would expect that to be a little bit high. Like, I would think acts of service would probably be number 3, and receiving gifts would be number 2 at least. And because I think it's cute when, like, I get little gifts and surprises that I wasn't expecting, and it's just some and I'm like, oh my god, like,
yes,
what?
I love it.
I love it.
Is there any gift in particular that stands out the most to you?
Yes, and it just happened recently, actually.
Aww.
So I was watching, I don't know, I don't remember exactly what we were watching, what we were talking about, but I saw this Disney watch, like the old school Mickey Mouse watch, right? With Mickey in the face and it's turning, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I can't remember what it was, but I saw it, and then I had this memory that hit me like a wave, and Juan and I were sitting on the couch, and I remember being young, and I had this Mickey Mouse watch that I got the very last Christmas that my family had, like, as a family. Actually, this was the year after the last Christmas, and my aunt bought me a gift anyway, because we weren't allowed to have Christmas anymore, and she bought me a Mickey Mouse watch. She knew I wanted it. But my stepdad, love him, we've healed, would not allow me to wear this watch. And he kept it, and I think I only had, like, wore it like a couple times, and if I wanted, I had to, like, ask for it, but he, like, kept it on the dresser. He would not allow me to do this, and I was like, it's what, 8?
Is it because it was a Disney?
No, it was just because my stepfather, religion, him trying to assert dominance in the household at that time, and, like, my parents got married, and then it was like no holidays, no this, no that, because he was just he was deep into the Christianity that way, and because my aunt bought the gift anyway, it was like, I said he doesn't get anything. At the time, he would address me as
Can I ask what branch?
Oh, not denominational. Like,
That's surprising.
I know.
If you would have said, like,
Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah.
No.
Then I would have been like, oh, okay, so then
No.
I get it, because that's across the board usually how it goes.
No, my stepdad came in and just, for his own reasons, he just canceled all holidays. Like, if it wasn't
Bah humbug. Christmas is canceled.
Right. Now, in his world, if it wasn't in the Bible, it doesn't need to be celebrated.
Oh,
and
okay.
he considered, like, Christmas, all that. It was just like, it's a no. But
did you celebrate? We're going a little on topic, but
okay.
did you celebrate
birthdays?
No, Judaic holidays, so Hebrew holidays.
No, they do now. I know.
Okay.
We'll have that conversation. Another topic, another day.
Love languages of those.
Right, moving on. So back to the gift. So, long story short, I had this memory about this Mickey Mouse watch, and I got real emotional about it because I forgot how much I cherished that watch. And so I was like, maybe I should just buy myself a new one. So I was like, maybe I should go look, right? So I'm looking at them. I'm like, oh, these aren't priced that much. Not thinking nothing of it, right? Maybe 3 weeks later or so, I come home, long day, and I think I don't remember what it was, but I came home and Mark and Juan are standing in the living room looking like, and I'm like, what's going on? And Juan comes out and hands me this box, and I'm like, what is this? And they're just like, open it, and it was a fucking Mickey Mouse watch.
Oh my God.
The classic Mickey Mouse watch. It was like the gold brand, like... Yeah, it was. I had a moment.
Sorry.
I had a moment. I had a moment. I had
fucking
to like. I had a moment. I had to walk in another room for a minute and be like, and I couldn't wear it right away. I just left it in the box for a couple of days.
That, huh?
Yes, I had to like, because that was just like, that was the last thing that,
so
like,
sweet.
you know what I'm saying?
It's a perfect example of how sentimental gift giving can really create like pivotal moments for
yes
people.
Yeah. So that was a gift that definitely, like, I cherish.
I love that. I love that.
Cherish it.
And it's also healing, right? Because even though it probably resurfaced a memory, like this sort of thing, I would, and you can tell me if it has, if it healed that in a way, that trauma.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
The crazy thing is I didn't even realize that the trauma was there that way. Like, you know, again, as I've said before, I love my family. We are healed. This is no disrespect. I just tell things that are a part of my story. Love you, Pops. However,
we love you.
There are things about that time in my life that were very emotionally traumatic, and some of it, you know, there's so many things that were happening, that little things like that really did affect me, kind of just get swept on the rug in comparison to some of the bigger things. And so I definitely it was not until that it just triggered, and I was just like, oh my God, that Mickey Mouse watch, like that was like the last like real, like, you know, Christmas gift, you know, because Christmas, that's why I'm like really big on Christmas now, honestly, because I'm like I had to reclaim it, like Christmas is mine and I can do what I want, you know. But moving on, that was that, and we'll get more on that topic later. But yes, gift giving was at 23%. Words of affirmations at 13%. That's about right on target. Send me a text and tell me things, or I'm always like, I love you so much, I appreciate you so much. I do that to my friends too, you know, like I just think that's important. But last at 3% was touch, which I was like, get out of here. What? I thought touch was going to be number one by like a landslide. I am very much a sensual, touch me, like affectionate person, 100%. And so I'm just confused.
So again, not to defend the test, because I don't know Gary Chapman. I haven't read any of his bodies of work, but I think that the way the questions are cultivated, like it just doesn't go maybe deep enough into certain areas. So maybe there weren't enough questions about physical touch that triggered you to choose those. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, 100%. I guess, you know,
because it was very PG. It was like very PG.
Yeah,
it was like, would you receive a hug over a gift or like something, and maybe you were thinking.
The quiz is also very telling about like covert needs, you know, that are also just as important, because maybe the reason why physical touch didn't come in number one for you is because you feel fulfilled in that area, but like other things probably came up for you because it wasn't something, you know, you might have realized that you did need, that you might not, you know, have communicated, like I said about myself. And so like maybe we're not getting enough of that. And like subconsciously and consciously our mind was just like, hey, like, yeah, we love the other stuff and like that's great, but like what about these?
Right.
You know?
Right. That's true too.
I mean, I guess in a way, like I'm not like pressure physical touch by a long shot. But I will say though that as we're talking and I'm like thinking and I'm like, okay, if I was to actually really sit down and have to pinpoint what was the 100% most important thing to me, it actually wouldn't be touch so much, now that I think about it, because I mean, for all sake and purposes, sex is accessible, right? Like if I want it, I can go get it. And sex in my relationships is important because intimacy, sensual intimacy and stuff like that is very important to me. But I guess it wouldn't be a deal breaker if like I'm with my partner or partners and like we're not doing anything or not physically touching each other for a period amount of time. I'm not upset about that. You know what I mean? But like if we're not spending time together, I guess I would be like, what are we doing? Like, you know what I mean? So I guess that kind of like, I guess that's where it sits. And that does make sense.
I hear that.
But you gotta touch me though, honey. Like you gotta kiss me on my neck, something. You know what I'm saying? Like something. You ain't about to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
3%.
3%.
Damn.
It could have been the way, I'm telling you, it's the way that the test is curated too, that it just didn't trigger like as many responses in, because how many questions were there? Like maybe 20?
Yeah, just about
20. About 20 or something like that.
I mean, some of the questions too would give you that like, would you prefer this over this? Yeah. And it's like, well, I want both of them. Like, I kind of live in the middle.
I want it all. And I don't care how I want it now. I want it now.
Yeah. But very interesting. Very, very interesting test. So, well, now that we've got all of our
love languages
out in the open,
and very clear, we're gonna take a real quick break, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna get more into how we operate love languages and the whole nine around all of that. So,
we'll be back.
The Fine Print by two-time Glam award-winning artists, the Dragon Sisters. Available now.
Hey, guess what I do? It's my job.
Side to side, anything you want that cookie provide. Edible arrangement, coconut side.
Islaya, it's in the name. The new single by Islaya, available now for download on Spotify.
And so we're back. Had a little behind the scenes discussion about, you know, how we feel about all the love languages and our placements and, you know, some arguments about what should be, you know, at the top of the list, but it's okay. Yeah. It's totally okay.
Yeah.
Learning new things.
Right.
About self.
Right. Well, how, as queer people, right? And we deal with so much, as we were talking about, like learning how to like do things by ourselves and kind of like by default. Do you think, and you mentioned this earlier actually, that your love languages can change over time as your maturity happens, as you become more comfortable with yourself, and all these other kind of things that we're like learning along the way as we're navigating this queer life in the world that we are in these days.
It's so funny because when you were talking about the gift giving and what happened to you in your childhood, like it made me think a little back to my childhood and my relationship with my mom. And so thinking of acts of service and like, you know, when you're a kid, like your parents like have you do chores and run a whole bunch of errands and whatever. But there was a period of time, and it kind of continued. I love my mother. My mother is no longer here on this physical plane on Earth, but so I know she's probably like listening in. But my mother would like send me to the store like 3 to 4 to like 5 times a day, and I would just be like, Mom, if you just write everything down on one list, like maybe I could go to the store once instead of 8 times in one day. And so it's possible, and like, you know, like that's my mom, so I'm doing it out of love, of course, not just only because she told me to do it, you know. But perhaps that kind of trickles over into adulthood, you know, in the way that I show up in relationships, and then that being with men especially, you know, it's just like, no, I don't really need you to do anything for me. And like I know that there's like little things, like if I'm dating a guy and he cooked dinner, like I'll be the one to do the dishes, or like, you know, especially if he cooked, or just little things like that. And I notice sometimes guys get like a little weirded out by that. They're like, oh no, you don't have to do that, because, you know, they're like, you're the woman, but you don't live here in my house. But it's like, no, you just cooked me an entire meal, and I think that this is my way of saying thank you, right. You know. So I do think that it's possible that maybe in my teenage years that like the acts of service, you know, could have been like, or like my early 20s or something, maybe acts of service would have shown up higher on the poll, because I was so used to being of service to someone. And it's so funny because, speaking astrologically, my mom also had Venus in Virgo, like you guys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it says that that's one of the traits that they love to receive. Well, not different category, but they say that people with Venus in Virgo often love to receive gifts. Like that's like a really
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I never knew that.
Interesting.
I really never knew that.
So just to clarify for our listeners and watchers, your Venus in your astrological chart, I'm assuming, deals with how you deal with love in your relationships and friendships and family and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Just wanted to make sure we make that clear.
Yes, make that clear.
rules, relationships, love, beauty,
creativity.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So we found out that Mel and I have Venus in Virgo. So
Sayje.
and what is your Venus?
Oh, my Venus is in Capricorn.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm not. But not even. Like, she likes to know my boots, like I said, but like by herself. And then so to go furthermore into the astrology, so my Venus is in the first house. So your first house in astrology rules your identity. So maybe because it's there, it's like this strong sense of independence.
Yeah.
And so I guess in romantic relationships, it shows up even more, you know? But going back to if it changes, I think that it's definitely possible, especially as we expand into different kinds of relationships, different situations. The test or this theory of the 5 love languages is more so geared toward committed relationships, it says. So this is how we show up in commitments.
Interesting. And touch was still the last one. I'm just so confused.
And
I'm so confused.
I have had a very
The test said there's nothing lacking there.
Hey!
I've been a free bird, you know, for a very long time. So maybe it'll be different in another situation.
Would you think that you are not even comfortable receiving things because it's not something you're used to yet?
That's interesting.
No, I won't say that because I'll say in other relationships, like in my friendships especially, like I have really cool friends who like to gift me things and they know what I like. They know what I
true.
love.
I randomly, Sayje and I, you know, we hang out from time to time. We catch up, we kiki and stuff, and like, one of the ways I like to express gift giving for my friends, especially for like my femi presenting friends, like I love to bring them flowers. Like I will just randomly pop up and bring you flowers, like for nothing. Also because the bar is too low if my friends are not getting flowers for no reason.
Damn.
So yeah, just need to set that straight real quick. If you are dating one of my friends, just know I'm already bringing them flowers. So you should already be prepared to live up to the prerequisite, you know? But yeah, so
there it is.
I hope you guys
sip a little bit to
sip a little bit to that. Yeah, Mel was so sweet. We hung out over the summer and they brought me flowers and I almost broke down into tears because I was telling them that it's something that you often expect in romantic relationships, and I've never had a man buy me flowers, but that's okay because.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. That's not the only way of showing affection, but I do feel like it's a very popular form, and so to get it from a friend, was really romantic. You know what I'm saying? Friendships can be romantic too.
We spoke about that, right?
Yes.
I feel like we need to normalize like expressing your love languages in your friendships.
Yes.
And I feel like it's such a beautiful thing to like explore, you know, like romance in your friendships. Like romance doesn't always have to be over sexualized, you know, which is one of the reasons why I love practicing that with my friends, because I love my friends so much, especially when you're in the LGBTQIA+ community. Like your chosen family, your friendships, they're your pillars of support, you know, like those relationships and connections can be life-changing or heartbreaking, you know, and there's not enough conversation around like how, you know, how we express our love languages in our friendships, in our platonic relationships, and also not enough conversation on how like friendship breakups are so deep. They're so deep. Friendship breakups to me hurt more than romantic relationships ending. Like, so yeah, I from time to time love to bring my friends flowers. Like, you know, I would practice that more with like, you know, my masculine presenting friends, but I have just found that they don't appreciate it as much as like my femi presenting or like you know, non-binary queer folks who just like probably never received those types of gifts before or never received them outside of like a birthday, you know, like a graduation or something like that, you know, like here's flowers just because I was thinking of you, buddy.
Yeah, it's funny you touched on something that's actually I think is really important about the romance between friends, which is another reason why I was so shocked that touch was so last, and it's something I had to learn because for a long time, like I'm a very emotional person, and understanding like polyamory and like how that works actually really opened, like kind of helped me understand things a little bit better because I'm so emotional and I connect with people in a very emotional, sensual way. I immediately feel like there's like if we're close and we're getting like real close, then like are we having sex? Like, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's just like my go-to. I'm like if we're like connecting on that deep of an emotional level, my first thought is like okay, so when the clothes coming off then? Because we're emotional, right? But learning how to like that's not sex. And that kind of emotional connection does not always have to be one and the same. It actually allowed me to have a lot more deeper, really emotional relationships with friends, and like in ways date your friends without sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it kind of like is a very interesting like space to clear up some things. Where I was like, oh, okay, we have to work on this. Like, you know what I mean? But I do think it is important that there is a level of, especially for queer people, I feel like. There is a level of like romance and deep, passionate love between friends that does not necessarily have to translate to the bedroom, but it can definitely be like, oh my God, I love this person so much.
So much.
You know what I mean? Like so much. You know? So I think that's important and it's something to be learned, you know?
Yeah, like, for sure. Especially when like you're growing up in environments, you know, where like your queer identity is not supported or not validated. When you do meet other people in the queer community that you have so much in common with, that you share common values and like core, you know, like principles, you know, like it's so hard not to love the people you connect with, you know, especially on a deep level, because it's almost like even if you grew up in different communities, you have this shared lived experience that no one else understands, you know, and because of that, your ability to connect on that alone is deep. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I feel that.
Yeah, that's important.
And I'm sure that's how, I mean, I don't really have, you know, I don't have experience in the ballroom scene or ballroom culture, but I'm sure that that's foundationally how houses were formed. You know, from these deep, intimate, nurturing relationships, and then you have mothers, you know, of houses who took, you know, other younger, sometimes, you know, queer folk in to say, you know, I'm here for you, and let's create a home together, a safe place,
sanctuary.
And you touched upon something a few moments ago that made me think of like the lens of there maybe like a cis straight person, and how a lot of times when they see a deep friendship or bond between two queer people, the assumption is always like, oh, are you guys
together?
They're together. And I never really understood where that comes from, or it's like, why do her and I have to be in a relationship, or why do, you know, or what have you. But it's probably from that panoramic view, it seems so intimate that at some point, either currently or in the past, there had to have been something, you know, something, like you said, something sexual, but no.
Imagine having that kind of connection with somebody who is straight. That is a whole other, like, thing to organize, because now you have these, like, deep emotional and passionate feelings for this person, and they have them for you, but there's nothing, like, sexual there, and it's confusing.
Or sometimes there is story of her former life before now. We don't have to get into it, but it has been a thing, and yes,
but sometimes it's not like
too much of a thing.
Right. I've definitely had straight friends, and I had to check myself, like personally, like I will never say their name, they will never know this, but I've definitely had straight friends that I was like, ooh, like I'm so, like, we are just so here, and they could get it, like, right now if they wanted, but that just was not the, you know what I'm saying? And I had to, like, adjust that, like, lens of, like, okay, so what does this mean? Like, I'm, you know, a lot, and this was before I was introduced to polyamory, and was like, whoa, this makes so much more sense to how I see the world. You know what I mean? Now, navigate it easy. You know what I'm saying? But when I was younger, those kind of connections would confuse me so much.
Yeah.
I think so too. For me too. I think like growing up around a lot, or what seemingly appeared to be a lot of straight people.
Right.
I was in the closet, so they were probably in the closet too. But what appeared to be like a lot of straight people, like growing up around other people who weren't openly like queer or gay or in the LGBTQIA+ community, I definitely felt like attraction and like, you know, amorous feelings towards like some of my peers and stuff like that. And I as I grew older, I learned, you know, I also learned that some feelings can be fleeting, you know, and sometimes what I realized was that I feel this way about this person because I like a quality about them. So like I learned to kind of like not internalize in a unhealthy way, but kind of like use those like little aha moments to kind of like reflect on like what that's saying about me and what I like, what I would like in a partner, what I would like if I was to meet someone that I was romantically engaged with, you know, like I learned that way, you know, Virgo stellium.
So what do you do when you're in a situation with someone, friendship or romantic, and your love languages do not match? The compatibility of your love languages do not, you know?
I think in my experience, and please share your experiences because I would love to hear. In my experience, communication is the foundation of figuring that out, because I've definitely, one of my longest time friends, her love language is not physical touch, and I am a very affectionate person, so we had to speak on boundaries, you know, because I also had to learn to be attentive and mindful enough to ask questions before assuming that someone would automatically be receptive to what my love languages were and how I like to express myself. And I think that's important for everybody to practice. Please don't go around touching people without asking. Consent is cool. But yeah, so it took us a really long time to get to a point where like she felt comfortable enough to start exploring physical touch. Like for 10 years of our friendship, we did not hug. Wow. We did not have a single hug. Like we had one hug in the beginning, it was awkward as shit. And then I was like, hey, like, let's talk about that. Like, you know, because either you want to make out with me or you're not comfortable with this, like, you know. So
one of the two.
Right.
Something's going on.
Something is going on. But yeah. And then she expressed to me that she just wasn't comfortable with physical touch. You know, she didn't grow up in a family setting that was very affectionate. So it was uncomfortable for her to practice something she didn't have a lot of experience with, you know? So that was, you know, that was her trauma growing up. And then over time after us, you know, her seeing my respect for her boundaries over like the course of 10 years and me seeing her respect for my boundaries, you know, we then began to change as people. And then her love language changed a little bit. And now we have affection and our friendship, you know, which is, I wasn't expecting it. I would never wait around for something like that, you know, but I just thought it was fascinating how our friendship changed over time. And like through our friendship and through some of her other core relationships, she was able to start practicing something she didn't feel comfortable with in the beginning. So I thought that was cool. So conversations, communication, like get to know yourself, your boundaries, and please be mindful enough to actually care about what other people's boundaries are too.
Yeah.
That's a word.
That's a word. Especially when it comes to physical touch, because there's so much we live in a very hypersexual.
Yeah, for sure.
Not only community, but just world. And as a trans woman, I'm very aware that we're often fetishized. And so for me, I think I'm not as surprised that physical touch comes somewhere in the middle, because I think a lot of men tend to, or at least the ones that I've been experiencing in the past, have been very forward with that, and very primarily all about that, and it's a turn off. So I kind of fall in the middle with the physical touch aspect, because as much as I love to be cuddled and caressed and kissed and touched and all of these things, because she is a Scorpio and sex is definitely where it's at, it's like, allow me the space to open that gateway, you know what I'm saying? When a man is like way too physically forward, it could be a really big turn off for me sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Especially too soon in the game, because it's just like, okay, well then, this is just, you just want me from my body, So although it's a requirement, I feel like the quality time is more important. I want to build these memories, with you outside of the physical aspects,
Yeah. It's funny, you said communication, and I'm like, there should be 6 love languages, because I feel like communication is number one of for me.
Sure.
I tell
I don't
people,
know why that's not a love language.
I tell people all the time, for me, communication is number one. I don't care if you think I'm gonna get mad. I don't care if you think I'm gonna get uncomfortable. We must talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We got to talk about it. We got to figure it out. Whatever the case may be, that is just number one.
I feel like I hereby announce Unbinding the Binary has officially instated communication as another love language.
Yeah.
Yes. It is the 6th sense.
Yes.
There.
Officially.
Yes.
You heard it inside people.
Right. So yeah, I think if there's a lack in communication, that could throw things off. I'm trying to think if there's been situations where love languages were off in friendships or anything like that. I definitely think sometimes I'm so self-aware that I will I will align myself to somebody else's algorithm before it's just being, you know what I mean? I will read you and be like, okay, this is where I fit here, and then I'll just fit and then make it work.
That's
you know
a very
I mean?
Virgo, Venus and Virgo thing to do.
Oh,
it is.
really?
Yes, very much so. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. Yeah. It's just so easy for us to see the details and the inner workings of things in other people. And so in that way, it's not as challenging for us to see how we can get in where we fit in, in certain people's lives. And I'm pretty grateful for the way details are very easy to spot.
Yeah.
And telling.
For sure.
It's good to learn to not have to always do that sometimes.
I know. I'm learning now how to give people the chance to practice, or to just honestly observe whether or not other people have the emotional intelligence and self-awareness to be that mindful. And honey, at this point in life, if that's not where your development is at, God bless, but I'm gonna leave you where you're at.
Yep.
Because I agree with you about when you spoke up about overextending yourself, because I definitely have been guilty. I'm still working on not doing that, because it's so easy, because I know I'm so capable. I'm so capable. I can do it all. We'll have this whole relationship and you won't even be in it.
Yes.
I'll invite you to the wedding.
Yes. You just need to show up in space.
Or FaceTime. It's fine.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's so real. And learning how to not have to be so okay, let me figure it out. Can be. I can speak for myself and say it can sometimes be challenging, because I have to relax. You know what I mean? And I have to trust that you can learn me, and that by learning me does not mean that you're going to leave me because you don't like what you learn.
Oof.
And that has been like the biggest, like, I can relax, it's okay. Because my first reaction is, like I said, to like, let me learn you and I'll fit because I love you that much. And to now not have to do that, or learn to not have to do that, it can be challenging sometimes, but it's the process.
Yeah, I mean, because everybody has shadow aspects, you know, and I think that once you start to see and accept some of those aspects and realize that you can handle them, that's when the relationship is balanced. Because, you know, everybody slips up, everybody has mishaps, everybody has things that they're working on. So, and that's why that the communication is foundational, because without that, then you wouldn't know, you know, what that person is going through, or what they're experiencing, or what they need. And therefore, also you communicating, you know, your own needs.
For sure.
Really important.
Definitely learning a lot about how to observe, and like being more intentional about how much of myself I give when getting to know people, when trying to connect with people, and making sure I am not doing a disservice to myself. And yeah, also, you know, paying attention. People show you how much they want to give, how much of themselves they want to put into something, into a connection with you, you know. And I think it's just part of like maturing and recognizing, you know, your own emotional intelligence. You know, just because you can doesn't mean you need to, you know. So kind of like understanding your capabilities, you know, but also prioritizing like what capacity does this connection really have, you know, and am I the only one putting something into it? Like, you know, you gotta, I'm just learning to be more observant and more accepting of like, you know, people's ability to explore and figure things out for themselves too while connecting with me, you know. Yeah.
So real quick before we go on break, because we almost had time, I just want to ask you, love languages in relation to yourself. Are you loving yourself through your own love languages? Because when you were talking about self-love, and that like hit me like, do we use our
I
own
didn't
love
even
language?
think about that.
You know what I mean?
That's a good question.
For myself.
Yeah, that is a very good question.
Because that's important too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that has to be the most important in your relationship with self, but I don't think anyone's really asking themselves that. That was such a good question.
Yeah, it is.
I might make that like a journal entry for myself. No, for real.
How do I use my love languages for myself?
I have to talk to my therapist about that.
real, yeah. So, on that note, we're going to be right back with Mel and we'll be right back. The Oracle Shop is a metaphysical boutique located in the heart of Bushwick, Brooklyn. 164 Wilson, Brooklyn, New York, 11237. The Oracle Shop.
So we're back, you guys. And we're getting into these lovely Valentine's Day cupcakes.
I made the strawberries into hearts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
The melting.
See, it's that acts of service showing up.
Yes, for those of you that can't see, they're also beautiful.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah. That hit the spot.
Thank you, Mel.
I was a little worried the garbanzo bean flour was gonna like make it too like, I don't know, not sweet, but they came out really good.
Okay.
I'm getting Captain Crunch berries.
Yes.
Oh, this is really good, Mel.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
So, real quick, before we close out, we left off on using love languages for self.
Yeah. And you were talking about how that's probably something you have to talk about with your therapist. don't know if I ever mentioned on here, but I personally have one, and that's something that her and I check in about often. She's like, okay, Sage, like, you know, you're doing X, Y, and Z, and all these things, like, you know, what time are you setting out for yourself? And I definitely try to spend as much quality time with myself, even if it's just like taking myself shopping or like sitting down and writing out my thoughts, solo trips.
I love solo
Or
trips
just,
and
you know,
self-dates.
and
Maybe that is a
self-dates.
way that we express our love language. What would you say that is, like quality time and gift giving? Buy yourself dinner or coffee or a new book or something.
Exactly.
Something that was very high on all of our lists.
Right.
Wow, the words of affirmation. I guess certain mantras that I'll tell myself daily, you know. Maybe not all the time out loud, but, you know, in my head, just remembering that I am love and that I come from love.
Yeah, I love that for you.
Yeah.
You know, thinking about that, what you just said, I now realize that I don't know how I was so oblivious to words of affirmation being one of my love languages, because it's literally how I keep myself sane. Like, I routinely practice meditation and like words of affirmation. I have an affirmation wall in my bedroom. Yeah, like I did like watercolor and like put affirmations on it.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I use words of affirmation a lot to self-soothe my child self, you know, and to kind of like process really uncomfortable emotions. But yeah, I would say I use words of affirmation on myself. So maybe I'm not communicating that to other people because I'm so used to doing that and providing that for myself. Yeah, so that's so interesting. Thank you for bringing that up, because I just realized that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's actually something me and my therapist talk about often.
Yeah, self-dates are important. I remember years ago trying to date in New York and struggling. And a friend of mine had this, they're still together, married and everything, and I'm always curious and asking questions like, how? Like, back in the day. And he was like, well, before I met him, I used to date myself. And I was like, what? And he was like, oh yeah, like, he was like, I would just date myself. Like, I would do this for myself, do this for myself. And that kind of like, these things that I had already, you know, would do sometime out of default, my perspective on how I was doing them kind of changed. And it became more of like a intentional, like, this is for me time, you know, to give that back to myself. Not necessarily relating it to like love languages, but it definitely became like an intentional thing. Like, this is self time. Like, I need my me time. I need my me time. Which I think is important for anyone. But, I guess in how you love, depending on your percentages of the love languages, how would that translate to self? You know what I mean? I think, I guess maybe like if your number one was touch, are you a person who goes gets massages a lot for yourself and things like that? You know what I mean? Like these little things that you don't even realize, you know, translate.
I definitely think which one was lowest on my list? I think it was gift giving, right? That makes sense, because I'm not very like, I mean, I do have like a sense of style, and I do like to indulge in shopping from time to time, but I wouldn't say that I'm like super flashy or super like frivolous with my money when it comes to like myself. But I definitely practice like acts of service with myself also as a love language, I think. And that for me looks a lot like practicing like chores and things with the intention of delayed gratification. You know, like in therapy, me and my therapist, we talk a lot about like preventative measures for like, you know, making sure and like maintaining healthy mental health hygiene. So like she taught me about like delayed gratification, which is like making your bed and cleaning your room so that you don't feel like you're in a depressing environment, like, you know, which is a preventative measure to like mental health hygiene. So like in that sense, I feel like I do practice acts of service for myself, because I try, and at least, even if I have like 3 mountains of clothes on the floor, at least I make my bed. Like, like, listen, don't come into my room, but like I can crash in my bed knowing that there's not a pile of laundry on it, like, you know. And then I feel like another way I practice like acts of service for myself is like practicing hygiene, but like in a therapeutic kind of way, you know. So I try and make like regular tedious hygiene like tasks like therapeutic, like you know, my skin routine, like I'll put music, I'll have incense, I like to use like bath bombs, and I know we have so many similar placements too, like it's freaky. But yeah, so like I like doing things like that. Like if I'm taking a shower, like I like to sometimes point the shower head down so it's kind of like a sauna. And like I'll just put like bath salts on and like oils and stuff, and it just like does something for me, like, you know, just sitting there in that warmth. Like those are ways I try to make myself like acts of service tasks kind of like, I try to romanticize them a little bit, because they're mundane, they're boring, and like when you're also like trying to maintain your mental health hygiene, like hygiene and other things that, you know, you need to do to keep yourself like well can feel like daunting and overwhelming at times. So I like to make them like almost like a self-soothing thing.
Yeah.
How do you guys show up for yourself in like acts of service?
I mean, I was definitely vibing with you, because my bath time is very, very sacred.
Yeah.
Most people, they'll ask me, they're like, "Oh, Sayje, like, do you meditate? Like, what's your you know, routine?" And to be honest with you, a lot of times I meditate in the bathtub.
Yeah.
There's just something about the water that's just so full of mercy for me, and so I feel that I absorb that in that space, and it's easier for me to go into a cleared mindset and focus in the bathtub. I'm a very big Lush girl, so I love my bath bombs. I take myself to do my nails. Y'all know the nails are.
I clearly go
to. My hair, you know, these things. So appearance, hygiene. I'm really big with like oils and smells.
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
all of those things that I feel that bring me a little spark of joy, like, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So definitely acts of service are definitely there for self.
Yeah. What about you?
I think honestly, I mean, my bath time and stuff like that has always been an adventure, period. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like an act of service. It's just, I just know in the shower I can think, I can imagine, and like I'll get a lot of ideas and stuff like that. But I would say that my personal acts of service to myself is staying creative and actually like sometimes to my detriment being creative a priority, like where I have to like this, I have to do this things, because if I don't do this, it will affect me here. So I need to be as creative as possible around creative people,
self-motivating.
So I make that like a very, very severe like priority in my life, where sometimes if there's a stretch where I'm not being creative, I start to feel stagnant, and I'll immediately be like, okay, I need to do something. Like I need to like write a song, I need to watch something, I need to go to a museum,
start a podcast.
It's very, very important for me to give that to myself, you know what I'm saying? That would be my act of service, because it's very easy to get swept up in our world and
mundane things
every day, and I just can't live that life. Like I've done it, I've been there, and I was dying alive. You know, so that would be my way, I would say.
That's beautiful.
You know,
love that.
so yeah. But we gotta wrap it up, because we could go on and on. But we do have to wrap it up. So maybe we have to make this a part 2 and come back to love languages and segue it into something else.
Yeah, it could be in part 3 of the Dating Diary.
Yeah.
You know?
That sounds
Thank you so much, Mel.
Yes.
Of course.
Like, ride or die coming through.
Thank you so much for having me again. Like, I love being a part of these conversations.
Yes.
And I love listening to what you guys have to add to these conversations. I definitely realized some things about myself today because you guys
Same. And thank you for these cupcakes because I had to actually slow down. So I was over, like, I took one bite and I was like, it's a wrap. And I went into like treat tunnel vision and you were talking. I'm like,
No, because I heard you.
I was over here smacking.
I heard you snacking.
So thank you.
I looked over and it's gone.
The cupcakes are on point.
I'm so glad.
So thank you very much. So yeah, well, as you know, let people know where they can find you.
You guys can find me on Instagram at Mmell on Earth. That's 2 M's, ELL on Earth.
Great. Yes.
So until
follow
next
them.
time.
Yes, until next time. Oh, and as always, make sure you go to our website at www.unbinding.the.binary.podcast. All of our links are there to our social media and our email. And please email us if you have any ideas, you want to be on the show. We are more than welcome and more than open and willing. So come on to the table or the couch or whatever segment that we have.
Or to perform.
Or perform.
Right here on the Oracle Stop stage.
Yes.
Okay, it's a stage 2.
Yes. So just come on and reach out. So once again, that is www.unbinding.the.binary.podcast. Cool. All right, y'all. We will see you next time.
Peace and love.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at unbinding.the.binary. Email us at unbinding.the.binary.podcast@gmail.com.